So what's been going on with the Google Lunar X Prize? You guys had your summit a few months ago. What are some of the updates that came out of that?
Right, we've been very busy. Our teams have been very busy. We're currently at 25 teams. So actually one of the big announcements at the team summit was that we had a merger between our team Next Giant Leap and Moon Express. And so now we're officially at 25. We actually expect to see a lot more of these mergers happening. The team summit was really important for all of the teams to get together and talk about where are they right now, and what are their struggles, and what are their strengths. And a lot of teams actually stood up and said, hey, we have this really good rover, but maybe we need some help with our landers, so why don't we partner with another team and try to figure this out, or share the cost of a launch vehicle, or just work together in other ways to try to make this really happen. And that goes across not only the technical winning of the prize, but also in education initiatives and all kinds of other good stuff. So that was some of the big things that came out of our team summit, which was in May in Washington, D.C.
What sort of developments have been going on with the whole social media aspect and the requirements that the teams have to do more video blogs and just have more of a public presence?
Right. So Google really wanted this prize to show the characters that are involved in this competition, and they don't want it to just be like one day somebody lands on the moon and nobody knows the story behind how that actually happened. Google, of course, being very big in the internet, just a little company on the internet, they really want the teams to have this online presence. And so within our rules, they're actually required to blog and post video. Sometimes the teams struggle with that a little bit. I think, they get so caught up in trying to build their robot or, figure out how they're financially going to achieve this, that they kind of forget to sit down in front of a camera and tell people what they're up to. And, they think maybe it's not interesting, but I think over time the teams have really started to realize, hey, especially as they're starting to build these prototypes and, make the wheels happen, that people are really interested in the details of what they're doing. And like, how did you make that wheel? Where did you go test this? How do you know that that's the right thing to do? Where did you come up with this crazy idea? I mean, we have teams that are coming up with all kinds of different designs. We have little spiky wheeled things and 6 wheels and 4 wheels and not to mention the landers and the different approaches to launch vehicles. We've been really encouraging the teams to focus on this and put out the details and also kind of explain who it is on their team, because they're all characters and all the teams have different personalities. So you expect to see a lot more. The teams, they're consistently blogging, and if you go to googlelunarxprize.org and look at the blogs, you'll see all their videos and everything, but it's just continuing to get more and more exciting as we go.
What kind of developments can we be expecting from more of these teams doing more mergers or collaborating with other teams? What sort of strengths and weaknesses do you see a lot of these teams having?
Well, I think a lot of teams are still kind of trying to work out the launch vehicle. That's probably the biggest thing. However, a number of teams are signing launch contracts, and not all of them have been announced yet, but they're overcoming that financial barrier, and they're figuring out ways to make it happen. And sometimes that's maybe buying the launch vehicle and selling off other payload space and working together with other organizations or teams to kind of split that cost. Or maybe they're just looking at a smaller launch vehicle. They're just kind of almost bootstrapping, I guess I want to say, ways to get there, because that has been one of the hardest financial and technical barriers for the teams. But it is happening, and you expect to see a number of these announcements in the next month or two. A lot of the teams are just kind of waiting for the right time to announce what they've been up to, but they are making that step, and this is very real. And I think teams are getting on the launch manifests, and that's proof that this is going to happen in the next couple of years. And then, other than that, a lot of teams have made good progress on their robots themselves. They're still working on their landers. There's some teams that are very strong with their landers, and they're offering up space to other teams to maybe piggyback on with them. Also, a lot of teams are just being quiet, and we don't know exactly what's going on behind those doors. There might be a full-on lander that's ready to go, but they're just kind of keeping that quiet because it is a competition. So I would say, probably the launch vehicle and the landers are the biggest points right now, but teams are looking at ways to collaborate with each other and work together to really emphasize their strengths. And then, the overall goal is to get to the moon. And I think everybody in this competition understands that, and they want to get to the moon. So whatever means necessary, if that's working with other teams, if that's just by themselves, if they have the means, great. But they're making it happen.
So just as a reminder, what is the deadline for this competition?
December 31st at 11:59 p.m. Of 2015.
With that being said, what happens if China makes it first?
That's a great question. There was a number of governments when this prize was launched that had the idea that they were going to land on the moon prior to 2015. As things go, like schedules slip a bit, and most of those organizations have delayed what their landing date would be. However, China has not, and it's kind of hard to say exactly what's going on. We don't have a detailed idea of what is actually going on with that program, but it looks like they may land next year. In that case, our rule set actually says that our prize would reduce to $15 million instead of the grand prize of $20 million. It's still a big achievement to send a privately funded robot to the moon, and the overall goal is to make a business out of this, to send robots consistently to the moon to conduct experiments or do scouting or help build a lunar base or whatever that is. That's the main goal. So you still will be rewarded for that. But it was originally put in place to kind of provide an incentive to maybe hurry up and beat these governments to the moon. But if China does land, that's great. That'll be the first time that somebody soft landed on the moon in almost 40 years, and that would be great to see anyone do it. So we'd be happy to see it. We hope our teams make it first, but either way, I think it's a good accomplishment.